Ooh. Who is this? I see a viewer. Welcome to Worm. We have the best worm. 10 out of 10 worm, only the finest of worm here. Unless that's me who's the viewer. I'll we'll give it a few more. Let's give it like 10-15 more minutes. Ooh. You have been blessed with worm. I'm making sure my mic sensitivity is low enough so it's not catching my mom talking to her book club on Zoom. I think we're good. If y'all hear anything, let me know. So I'll lower it. And remember to leave 2 bottles of water out this time to get warm, to get my throat all lubricated. Well, if I pay enough attention to anything other than insect-centric borderline horror imagery. Oh, you've seen nothing yet. You've seen nothing yet as far as borderline horror insect imagery. We haven't even gotten close to the meat of the borderline horror insect horror imagery yet. You just fucking wait, kiddo. Wait till like the end. The last like 5 arcs or so. My headphones are all tangled. Oh shit. Hold on. What's wrong with these? I need to get so I've been delaying getting earbuds for myself. Not earbuds. I have it was a dumb statement. I mixed up my 2 sentences I was gonna fucking say. I have a pair of Bose headphones that are Bluetooth that I use, like on my walker when I'm like going to sleep. And the cable that lets me attach them to like my PS4 controller and my audio interface, I guess must have finally crapped out. And they're only like $7 on Amazon. I just have been delaying getting one. I'm not sure the reason why, but I have. I don't know. But I have to get one because I don't like using these earbuds and they sound really bad compared to my actual headphones. Which reminds me, I have to go plug those in. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay. Alright. We're back. Let's give it 5 more minutes. Should start at like 8:20. Yeah, why not? I'll sit here and talk for a few more minutes and wait for people to get in. Oh, hey, it's Denger. Hello, big boy. How you doing? Let's wait 10 more minutes. We can all share. It's my guild, and we're almost finished up achievement for all having all the classes for all races, and I'm doing the best this week. First, I want to play Worgen. Heavy to level yet another character. I mean, I see why. Warby. The only cool Worgen in Warcraft is Greymane. So I get why nobody wants to play a fucking furry. Why would you read Worm when you Worm? Why would you want to read Worm when you can read Warby? I've seriously gone back to that video like a couple times over the past like day or so, and I just laughed at it every time. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's peak comedy, in all honesty. Oh, we have 3 viewers. Hello. I just should read the entire thing in elite voice. Warby. I love the elite screams. They're great. Please. I'm not fluent in what were they called? Singheli? Was that like the official elite name? Was just they were they called like Singheli? Because they were from Sanghelios. I'm not fluent in Singheli. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not fluent in Singheli. I'm sorry. I would though. I would. Listen, the more characters that appear, and trust me, there are a fuck ton in Worm. The more stereotypical these voices are going to become, and I'm going to end up offending someone, and I'm going to feel really bad. But we're going to do it anyway. For the giggle. Good. I'll just go through all the Jewish stereotypes first, so no one can say I didn't beat down my own people. Busted Irish. I'll have like before any character shows up who's like busted Irish. I'll have to have like 6 Guinnesses beforehand, like an entire 6-pack of Guinness, and then I'll talk, and then I'll really sound like a busted Irish. Yeah. Don't feel bad ever. Thanks, Denger. I appreciate it. So let me just take a little look-see here, because this part is 11 plus 2 interludes. So I say we'll probably call it at 6, depending on how much time we have. Do some really bad Spanish. I can do that. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Okay, there we go. I almost showed you my WordPress statistics. Don't worry, they're not pretty. They're nothing to hide. Trust me. Is there gonna be a Twitch petition like Zach show your WordPress reader statistics? Just be this empty page. Like the occasional spike in viewership by like one person. Please don't sign that petition. It'll ruin me. it's the guy from India. And my like one Indian fan. Wordgate. Zach, release your WordPress statistics. What are you trying to hide? The fact that I get no readers. But that's okay. I'm still new. I've only been in the game for like what? Less than 2 months? Not even a month actually? Listen, this month I'm feeling it. And if not this month, next month. The month after that. As long as India Man keeps like reading him a couple hours, like if India Man keeps reading my chapters at Real Gamer Hours, like I need to. July is the power month. Yeah, I'm feeling it. If India Man keeps reading my chapters at Real Gamer Hours, I keep updating. It's that simple. India Man's my driving source. Sorry, Denger. I know you were my first like real reader and all, but yeah, India Man's kind of got you beat. Wordgate is real. Don't believe Zach's lies. Wordgate is real. Oh hey, Maggie. How you doing, bud? Wordgate is do not believe the lies of Zach. He'll distract you by reading Empress Teresa and giving it writing criticism, but do not believe him because he has no readers. Wordgate is real. Stay woke. Alright, we're going to start in a couple minutes here. Yeah, we're going to start in a couple minutes. Warby. Alright. Yeah, we'll give it till 20 minutes and then we'll start. Crack my back here. Oy. Maggie, these two are plotting against me. I almost showed my WordPress reader statistics just now. And now they're signing a petition for me to release the reader count. It's not looking pretty. I feel like I'm being overwhelmed here. These two just want justice, but I won't give it to them. Current events, everybody. Current events. This is topical. Superpowered bank robberies are very topical right now. My thing only still says we're at 2 viewers, which is weird because I know all 3 of you are in the thingy-mabobber. Strange. Twitch is being stupid. Current event now, right? One-page explanation of what's going on using proper MLA format, right? No, APA format is a superior format. Don't let the MLA liars. Don't let the MLA liars get to you. APA is the superior format. MLA is used by knuckle draggers. This episode of Worm is brought to you by the Font Wars and Wordgate. Ooh. Ooh. I'm yawning. Too late for that, yeah. Alright. Let us begin. It's 20 minutes, so let's go. Everybody get cozy. Everybody get comfy. Everybody grab a snack. Grab a drink if you want. Get under your blankie. Cause sans serif, worse serif. Fuck you. Actually, do I use serif font while I'm writing? I actually don't know. I'll check to see if I'm on your side or not. But anyway, let's MLAs for small brains, exactly. Let's get right into the worm. You actually showed up. I looked up from my math textbook to see Emma looming over me. She was wearing an expensive dress that had probably been a gift to her after one of her modeling contracts, and her red hair was up in the kind of complex knot that looked ridiculous on a 95% of the girl that tried to pull it off. She could make it work, though. Emma was one of those people who just seemed to ignore the social awkwardness and minor issues that plagued everyone else. She didn't get zits, any style she wore on her hair or clothes looked good on her, and she could break pretty much any social codes of high school and walk away unscathed. God, I hated her. Mr. Quinlan had ended class 15 minutes early and instructed us to do some self-study before leaving the room. For most, that was a chance to play cards or talk. I'd set myself the task of getting all the homework done before class ended, to free up my weekend, at least. That had been the plan before Emma interrupted. Worm entered, yeah. Funny thing is, I replied, turning my attention to back to my notebook, you're the only person today who seems to notice I was gone. If you aren't careful, I might think you actually cared. I wasn't being entirely honest there. My art teacher had noted my absence, but that was only after I'd reminded her I hadn't turned in my midterm project. People didn't notice you were gone because you're a nobody. The only reason I paid any attention is because you bother me. I bother you? I looked up from my work again. Wow. Every time I see you, it's this irritating little reminder of time I wasted being your friend. You know, those embarrassing events in the past that make you cringe when you think back on them. For me, that's basically every sleepover, every juvenile conversation, every immature game you dragged me into. I smiled, then against my better judgment, I told her, right. I love how you're implying that you're even remotely more mature than you were then. Strange as it sounds, I was actually relieved to have Emma here, getting on my case. If this was all she was able to do for me today, it meant I probably wouldn't have to deal with any pranks in the immediate future. What really ratcheted up my anxiety levels was when she ignored me and left me alone. That generally speaking, was the calm before the storm. Really, Taylor? Tell me, what are you doing with yourself? You're not going to school, you have no friends, I doubt you're working. Are you really in a position to call me immature, when I've got all that going for me and you just don't? I laughed loud enough that heads around the classroom turned her in my direction. Emma just blinked, bewildered. As much as I didn't want the money, I was technically $25,000 richer than I had been 36 hours ago. $25,000 were waiting for me, and Emma was saying she was doing better than me because she got a few $100s every few weeks to have her picture taken from wall catalogs. Fuck you, Emma. I said loud enough for people to hear. Get a clue before you try to insult people. I love this. I say I don't like the whole school part of Worm, because this does go away. The whole thing is not set, with Taylor going to school. But I love how they show Taylor just railing it when she finally like sort of gets more a hold of her power and her status as Skitter she is now. With that, I grabbed my stuff and strode out of the classroom. I knew I was going to pay for that, for standing up to Emma, for laughing in her face. It was the sort of thing that would push her to get creative and think about the best way to get revenge for that small measure of defiance. I wasn't that worried about skipping clout of class 5 minutes early. If history was any precedent, Mr. Quinlan probably wouldn't be coming back before class ended. He routinely left class and just wouldn't come back. Popular guesses among my classmates lead towards Alzheimer's, or even that our geriatric teacher with a sagging gut could be a cape. I actually forget if they give a reason. I was more inclined to suspect that drugs or a drinking problem were at play. I felt good, better than I'd felt for a long, long while. Admittedly, there were painful stabs of conscience when I thought too much about the fact that I'd actually participated in a felony, or the way I'd terrorized the hostages. Could I be blamed if I went out of my way not to dwell on it? I'd slept like a baby that last night, more due to sheer exhaustion than sound conscience, and I woke up to a day that kept surprising me with good news. Brian had met me on my morning run. He treated me to coffee and the best muffins I've ever tasted, while we sat on the beach. Together we had 10 minutes to go over the morning papers for news about the robbery. We hadn't made the front page for any of the major papers, the first bit of good news. We made page 3 of the bulletin, coming behind a 1.5-page story about an Amber Alert and a General Motors advertisement. Ooh, foreshadowing. Part of the reason we hadn't attached all that much attention was because the bank was hedging about the amount taken. While we had escaped with more than $40,000, the papers was reporting loss of only $12,000. All in all, the story had been more focused on the property damage, most of which was caused by Glory Girl in the wards, and the fact that the darkness we'd used to cover our escape had stopped all traffic downtown for an hour. I'd been quietly elated by all of that. Anything that downplayed the magnitude of the crime I'd helped commit was a good point in my book. The next mood booster was the fact I'd gone to school. It sounded dumb, rating that as an accomplishment when others did it every day, but I was very close to just not going again. Having skipped a week of afternoon classes and 3 days of morning classes, it was dangerously easy to convince myself just to skip one more. The problem was that just made the prospect of going to class again that much more stressful, perpetuating the problem. I'd broken that pattern and I felt damn good about it. Okay, so I had to admit that things weren't 100% perfect so far at school as school went. I talked to my art teacher and she was giving me until Tuesday to hand my midterm project in with a 10% deduction to my mark. I'd also probably lost a few marks in various classes for being absent or not handing in homework assignments. 1 or 2% here and there. But all in all, it was a huge relief. I felt good. What's going on? Fuck off, phone. I caught the bus to the docks, but I didn't head to the loft. I made my way up the length of the boardwalk until the shops began thinning out and were longer stretches of the beach. The usual route people took was driving in through a side road of outside of town, but for any hiking there, you had to take a shortcut through a series of very similar-looking fields. My destination was just far enough away that you'd think you'd missed it. Officially, it was the Lord Street Market, but if you lived in Brockton Bay, it was just the market. The market was open all week, but most people just rented the stalls on the weekends. It was fairly cheap since you could get a stall for $50 to $100 on a weekday and $250 to $300 on the weekends, depending on how busy things were. The stalls showcase anything from knickknacks, handcuffs, oh my god, I fucking can't read tonight. Knickknacks, handicrafts put together by crazy cat ladies to overstock from the most expensive shops on the boardwalk, marked down to 10 or 25% of the usual price. There were ice cream vendors and people selling puppies. There was tourism kitsch and the mess of merchandise relating to local capes. There were racks of clothing, books, computer stuff, and food. If you lived at the north end of Brockton Bay, you didn't have a garage sale. You got a stall at the market. If you wanted to go shopping, it was as good as any mall. I met up with the others at the entrance. Brian was looking sharp in a dark green sweater and faded jeans. Lisa was dressed in a dusky rose dress and gray tights, her hair in a bun with loose strands framing her face. Alec was wearing a long-sleeved shirt and slim-fit black denim jeans that really showed how lanky he was. You weren't waiting long? I asked. Forever, was Alec's laconic response. 5 minutes at most, Brian smiled. Shall we? Fuzzy cuffs. Yeah. We ventured into the market where the best of the north end of Brockton Bay had to offer was on display. The worst of the north was kept at bay by the same uniformed enforcers that you saw on the boardwalk. While Alex stood at an isolated stall featuring Cape merchandise, I commented, I guess Rachel can't exactly hang out with us, huh? Brian shook her head. No, not in a place like this. She's well known enough that she'd catch someone's eye, and from there it's only a short leap to figuring out who the people she's hanging out with are. And if she saw that, she'd go ballistic. Lisa pointed to a rotund old woman carrying a fluffy dog in her arms. It was wearing a teal and pink sweater and was trembling nervously. I didn't know my dog breeds well enough to name it specifically, but it was similar to a miniature poodle. What, the sweater? I asked. The sweater, the dog being carried. Rachel will be up in her face, telling the woman it's not a way a dog should be treated, screaming at her, maybe threatening violence if one of us didn't step in to handle things. Doesn't take much, does it? To set her off? No, it doesn't, Brian agreed. But you gradually learn how she thinks, what pushes her buttons, and when you can intervene before a situation happens. Lisa added, the big trigger for Rach is mistreatment of dogs. I think you could kick a toddler in the face and she wouldn't flinch. But if you kicked a dog in front of her, she'd probably kill you on the spot. Keep that in mind, I said. Then, doubly checking that nobody was in position to overhear, I figured it was as good a time to ask as any. Has she killed anyone? She's wanted for serial murder, Brian sighed. It's inconvenient. Courts actually gave her a fair trial. If she had a good lawyer, I think she'd get manslaughter at worst, maybe reckless endangerment. At least for the events that happened. Oh, that's Lisa. If courts actually gave her a fair trial, if she had a good lawyer, I think she'd get manslaughter at most, maybe reckless endangerment. Endangerment. At least for the events that happened then. Lisa said, her voice pitched low enough that nobody else in the crowd would pick it up. It happened just after her powers manifested. She didn't know how to use her abilities or what to expect from them, so the dog that she had with her grew into some sort of creature you'd seen it the others become. Because it wasn't trained, because it was abused and it went out of control. Cue the bloodbath. In the time since then, maybe. I know she seriously hurt a lot of people, but nobody's died at her hands since we've been with her. Makes sense, I said distractedly. So that's one. Who was the other murderer of the group? Alec returned from the stall wearing a Kid Win shirt. I like it, Lisa grinned. Ironic. Kick them No, do not kick them dogs. We continued our roundabout walk through the market. We were still on the outskirts, so there weren't many people around us. Those that were around us weren't likely to overhear unless we used words, names, or phrases that would catch their attention. Where do we go from here? I asked. Just a matter of handing the cash over to the boss. Handing the cash over. Oh, the Brian. I can't. I don't know who's speaking until I've already read it. Just a matter of handing over the cash to the boss later tonight. Brian picked up a pair of sunglasses and tried them on. He takes it, does what he needs with the papers, and gets back to us with our pay. Clean, untraceable. Once we picked up our share, we kick back for a little while, plan our next job, or wait for him to offer us another one. I frowned. We're putting a lot of trust in him. We're really giving him a pretty big amount of money, and we're expecting him to come back and pay us 3 times that amount? Plus, whatever he feels the papers are worth, how do you know we'll follow through? Precedent, Brian said, as he tried on another pair of sunglasses, lowering his head to examine himself in the mirror that was hanging from the side of the stall. He hasn't screwed it with us yet. Doesn't make sense for him to pull a fast one. When he's already invested more than us. If we were failing most of our jobs, maybe he'd keep the money to recoup his losses, but we've done well. Okay, I nodded. I can buy that. I felt kind of conflicted about the take it easy and wait plan. On one hand, having a break sounded awesome. The last week had been intense, to put it lightly. On the other hand, it sort of sucked that we wouldn't be out there on another job since I'd be waiting that much longer for a chance on getting more details on the boss. I just have to hope I could find something out tonight. Come on, Tattletale grinned at me, grabbing my wrist. I'm stealing you. Huh? We're going shopping, she told me, turning to Brian and Alec. She said, we'll split up, me you two for dinner? Unless you want to come in and stand around holding our purses while we try on clothes. You don't have any purses, Alec pointed out. Figure of speech. You want to do your own thing or not? Whatever, Alec said. You're a jerk, Lisa. Brian frowned, hugging the new girl to yourself. You get your morning meetings with her. I want to go shopping. Cope. Lisa stuck out her tongue at Brian. Oh, it reminds me of Jesse in the FF7 remake. I know that Jesse did not invent that trope, but it reminds me of Jesse. All right, Brian shrugged. Fugly Bob's for dinner? Sounds good, Lisa agreed. She turned to me, her eyebrows quirked. I'm down for Fugly Bob's, I concluded. Imagine if we had a restaurant called Fugly Bob's down here. I'd be going there like every night. It's a great name. Don't spend so much you draw attention, Brian warned. We parted ways with the boys, Lisa wrapping her arms around my shoulders and going on about what she wanted to get. Her enthusiasm was catching, and I found myself smiling. Murderer, I had to remind myself. One of these three was a murderer. Cope. Fugly Bob Fridays. That's when me and the boys gather around for Denger's streams. It's just called Fugly Bob Fridays. Take a little sippy of some water. Yeah, I forgot that I was reading a little bit, like, because I wanted to remember where we were in the story today. I forgot that this arc is like 2 whole arcs in one. Well, no, it starts like the events of this arc take like 2 arcs to unfold, and it's fucking cool. Also, I'll tell you that much. It's really fucking cool. We're also almost halfway to my first like favorite point of the story, so I'm excited. Anyway, Shell 4.2. We're updating your wardrobe, Lisa decided after she left the boys behind. What's wrong with my wardrobe? I asked, a bit defensively. Nothing really. It's just very you, which is the problem. You're not making me feel better here. You're a cautious person, Taylor. I like that about you. It's an essential addition to the group dynamic. She led me to a collection of stalls where there was a lot of women's clothing and quickly drew 3 dresses out from a rack. Brian's cautious. You and Brian are similar, but I wouldn't say he's cautious. He's pragmatic. You both are. The difference between you two is that he's been doing what he does for 3 years now. 2 years of experience before he joined the group. So a lot of what he does is automatic. He doesn't give a second thought to the little things he's done dozens of times already. He takes a lot for granted. And I don't? You're observant, detail-oriented, and focused. More than any of the others. You watch, you interpret, and then you act with this careful surgical precision. That's a strength and a flaw. What does this have to do with any of my clothes? Your personality is reflected on your fashion choices. Muted colors, brown, gray, black, white. Oh no. Oh no. Is it when they're eating? Yeah. The entire arc is the Fugly Bob arc. Yeah, you figured it. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard. The entire arc is Fugly Bob Fridays. Takes him 2 whole fucking arcs to eat and talk. Yeah. Yeah. If you're wearing something with color to it, you're wearing it under a sweatshirt, sweater, or jacket. Never anything that would stand out. Never showing so much skin. I feel attacked right now. Well, most people our age are picking clothes with the intention of defining identity for themselves, fitting into a clique. You're focused on staying out of sight, not attracting attention. Okay, maybe not that part. You're being too cautious, overthinking things you don't need to, always making the call to play it safe. And you want to change that. I sighed. I don't know why the Fugly Bob arc is so funny to me.
I'm suspicious you're capable of surprising everyone, yourself included, when you drop your guard, start being bolder and improvise, not just when circumstances force you to do so. I'm not talking about clothes, you know. I kind of got the drift. More to the point, I'm seeing you alternate between the same two pairs of jeans every day when you get a paycheck for when you got a paycheck for two grand 5 days ago. If I don't make you buy clothes, I don't think you're going to. My dad will wonder where I get them. I protested as she folded a pair of blouses over one of my arms. You borrowed them from me, or you don't fit any, or they don't fit me anymore, and I gave them to you. Or you can keep them at our place and leave him none the wiser. I don't like lying to my dad. She ushered me into a curtained-off area that serves as a changing room. Through the curtain, she told me, I envy you that. But if he hasn't figured out the reason your wardrobe has shrunk so much, chances are he's not going to notice that you have some new clothes. I was halfway through pulling off my shirt when that sunk in. What are you talking about? Come on, Taylor. I suspect you had some problems going on even without, a little bird whispering in my ear. I hurried to pull on the first dress of the pile, then opened the curtain. You're going to have to be a bit more specific before I can confirm or deny anything. Not that one, she waved at the dress. A plaid number, predominantly red and white. Annoyed, I shut the curtain. From the other side of the curtain, she explained, At first I thought your dad was abusing you, but I dropped a line of thinking pretty quick after I heard you bring him up in conversation. It had to be a major point of your life that's sucking, though, and if it's not home, then it's got to be school. Brian and Alec pretty much agree with my line of thinking. You've talked about it with them. I dropped my hands from the buttons of the dress and let my head thud against the shaky plywood wall of the change room. It came up to when we were talking about you joining the group and when we never 100% dropped the subject. Sorry, you're new, you're interesting, we talk about you. It's all it is. I finished doing up my buttons of the dress and opened the curtain. Everything I didn't want you prying? She undid the top button. What you want and what you need are two different things. Cornflower blue is a keeper. Throw that one over the top. She pushed me back inside and shut the curtain. What I need to keep, I struggled to find a way of wording things that wouldn't raise red flags for any eavesdroppers. These two major parts of my life are separate. The suckish part and the non-suckish part. Sure, let's go with that. I found a top and a pair of low-rise jeans and a pair of clothes. I could help the suckish part suck less, she offered. I swear my blood turned cold in my veins. I could see her showing up at school taunting Emma. I think the prospect of facing down Glory Girl again would spook me less. I struggled to do the top button of the jeans, which wasn't made any easier by my agitation. It took 30 seconds to get the button done up. I feel that, and I swore under my breath I swore under my breath the entire time. Where in the world had Lisa found jeans that were tight on me? When I had them on, I opened the curtain and confronted her face to face. Having me try on clothes is fine, I told her, doing my best to keep my voice calm. But you interfere directly in my problems, and I'm gone. Just like that? Just like that, I said. I'm sorry. She looked a little hurt. Fine. Pouting a little, she waved her hand in the general direction of my clothes. What do you think? I tried to adjust the collar. I liked the abstract design of the right side of the shirt, but the V-neck collar came to a point near where my ribcage ended and my stomach began. Top is cut just too low and the jeans are too tight. You need to get used to showing some cleavage. Like I said, be bold in your fashion choices. I'd be fine with showing some cleavage if I had anything to show, I pointed out. You're a late bloomer, she tried. My mom was a B-cup, and not always then, depending on the brand of bra. And after she went a partial size up being pregnant with me. That's fucking tragic. I shrugged. I've been reassigned to being broomstick thin and flat as a board pretty much from the point I'd started puberty. I just had to look at the genetics of either side of my family to know what I was in for. And my condolences about your mom. I didn't know. Appreciated, I sighed. I'm vetoing the shirt. Fine, you're allowed, but we're keeping the jeans. They show off your figure. The figure of a 13-year-old boy, I groused. You're taller than a 13-year-old boy. Don't be silly. Besides, whatever you look like, whatever your body type is, there's bound to be someone out there who thinks you're the hottest fucking person they've ever seen. Fantastic, I mumbled. There's a sketchy pedophile out there with my name on him. Lisa laughed. Go, try something else on. But throw the jeans over the top. I'm buying them for you, and I'll never wear them. And if you never wear them, I'll have to be content with you feeling guilty about it. Find me the same jeans one size larger, and I'll wear them. I negotiated. Then, before she could protest, I added, they're going to shrink in the wash. Point. I'll go look. Things continued in that vein for a little while, and Lisa was doing shopping for herself, too. We stuck to talking about clothes, and it was clear that Lisa was carefully avoiding the earlier topic. When we finished, the woman at the cash toted it up in a notepad and passed the slip of paper for us. To us. $460. My treat, Lisa said. Are you sure? I asked. A bribe in exchange for your silence. Lisa winked at me. About? She glanced at the cashier. After. It was only after we'd left the stall behind, the pair of us laden down with bags, that Lisa elaborated. Do me a favor and don't go telling the gang about how badly I let things slip, and as far as Panacea being one of the hostages. If they ask outright, you can say I won't ask you to lie. If they ask outright, you can say I won't ask you to lie. But if you don't ask, maybe don't bring it up. If they don't ask, maybe don't bring it up. This is the silence you're buying? Please? All right, I answered. I would have without the gift of clothes, but I think she knew that. She grinned. Thanks. Between them, I don't think those guys would ever let me live it down. Would you let them if the tables were turned? Hell no, she laughed. That's what I thought. But about our earlier conversation, last I'll say on the subject tonight, I promise. If you ever decide to want to directly interfere in any of your personal, if you decide you want to,
English no work.
If you decide you do want me to directly interfere with any of your personal stuff, just say the word. I frowned, ready to be annoyed, but I relented. It was a fair offer, not pushing anything. Okay, thank you, but I'll be fine. Then it's settled, let's go eat.
Oh, the Fugly Bob's arc begins now!
Fugly Bob's was a fast food restaurant of the most shameless kind, sold out to a part restaurant, part bar, part check at the edge of the market, overlooking the beach. Anyone who lived in the area had probably eaten there once at some point. Anyone with a sense that then waited a year to give their heart a chance to recuperate. It was a sort of place with burgers so greasy that if you ordered takeout, you could see through the paper bag by the time you got home. The specialty burger was called the Fugly Bob Challenger. If you could finish it, you didn't have to pay for it. Probably went without saying that most people paid. Brian and Alec were already there when we arrived, and we ordered our food right off. Lisa and I agreed to split a bacon cheeseburger. Brian ordered a portobello beef double-decker, and Alec matched him with a hideous Bob, Fugly Bob's interpretation of a Big Mac. A Big Mac.
It's almost an Applebee's with one of them fat cunt eating challenges. Yeah. Exactly. It's like a Shula burger and an Applebee's had like a hideous love child.
None of us were hungry, brave, or dumb enough to order the Challenger. Brian and Alec had been sitting outside so they could spot us when we arrived. After a brief debate, we agreed to stick to the table they'd been sitting at. It was by the window so we could see the TV. It was still cool enough that most people had ventured indoors. The only other outside were some college-age guys, and they were sitting on the opposite ends of the patio, occupied with beer and the game on the TV. The primary benefit was we had enough privacy to talk. I don't want to be a nag, Brian said, eyeing the piles of bags, but I did say you shouldn't spend so much so soon after a caper. It's the kind of thing cops and capes watch for. It's cool, Lisa brushed him off. It only raises flags with credit card companies or banks if a dramatic charges in a given person's spending habits. I buy close to this amount of stuff every week or two.
No English, блядь. Сука.
Brian frowned. He looked like he wanted to say something in response, but kept his mouth shut. So what comes next? I asked. Dinner, then dessert. Alec replied, his attention on the TV inside. I meant in terms of our, I lowered my voice, illicit activity. A quick double check showed that the college guys at the far end of the patio were still engrossed in the game. I couldn't make out anything that they were saying, and they were being loud, so I was pretty sure they couldn't hear us. Me and the boys
At Fugly Bob's. During Fugly Bob Fridays.
Is there anything you want to do? Brian asked me. Something less intense, I decided. I'm kind of feeling I jumped into the deep end of the pool without entirely knowing how to swim. I prefer you get to know my powers better in the field, figure out how to deal with the situation before I'm up against people like Lung and Glory Girl who are capable of tearing me limb from limb. Something easier then. If Rachel were here, she'd call you a wuss again, Alec commented. Commented.
I cannot Google Translate that right now. I'm just gonna let the Russian be in the chat.
I'll just have to be glad she's not here then. I smiled. Our food arrived and we used extra plates to divvy up our individual side orders so we had a little bit of each. That left us each a mix of fries, sweet potato fries, onion rings, and deep fried zucchini on an individual plate. The sides alone would be more than enough to raw food stuff for a meal on its own, but there were also the burgers themselves, each large enough to take up nearly an entire plate. Lisa and I cut the bacon cheeseburger in half and we each took a portion. I guess you're not the type that gains weight, Lisa eyed me. I have to work to put it on. Damn it, she grumbled. It's any consolation, I said, after taking a bite and wiping my mouth with a napkin. It's gonna be hell on my skin. That does help, she grinned. Alec rolled his eyes. Enough with the girl talk. What do you want to talk about then? Lisa asked him. He shrugged and took a bite of his burger. I had a suggestion. I know it's kind of cliche, but when people with powers get together, isn't it kind of standard to share our origin stories? Apparently, I couldn't have picked a better way to kill the conversation. Lisa turned away for once without a smile on her face. Brian and Alec gave me strange looks, not saying anything. What? I asked. I double-checked that nobody was in earshot. What did I say?
God is with us, no Russian.
No.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, there's so many other languages in chat. Рожби. Сука. Иди нахуй. Ой, блед.
All right.
I love how this chat is now just devolved into, like, Russian and Japanese. Anime speak. No anime allowed in this chat, unless it is JoJo's Christian Adventures. No anime. If I see one fucking anime, I swear to God.
Shelf 4.3. Alex surprisingly was the one to break the nerve-wracking silence. Let me put it to you this way. When you got your powers, were you having a good day? I didn't think about it. I didn't have to think long. No? Would I really be off the mark? I'd guessed you were having the worst day of your life when you got your powers? Second worst, I replied quietly. It's like that for everyone? Just about. The only ones who got off easy are the second-generation capes, the kids of people who have powers. Lisa leaned forward, putting her elbows on the table. So if you needed another reason to think Glory Girl's a privileged bitch, look no further. Why? I asked. Why do we go through that? It's called the trigger event. Lisa answered me. Researchers theorize that for every person with powers out there, there's 1 to 5 people with potential for powers who haven't met the conditions necessary for a trigger event. You need to be pushed to the edge. Fight-or-flight responses push their limits, further than the limits even then. Then your powers start to emerge. Basically, Alex said, for your powers to manifest, you're going to have something really shitty happen to you. Without which may help to explain why the villain is outnumber the heroes 2 to 1. Lisa pointed out. Or why third world countries have highest densities of people with powers. Not capes, but a lot of people with powers. The people who have parents with powers? They don't need to be nearly as intense an event to make their powers show up. Glory Girl got her powers by getting failed while playing basketball in gym class. She mentioned it in an interview she gave. So you basically asked us to share details of the worst moments of our lives. Alex said before taking a bite of his burger. Sorry, I replied. It's okay, Brent assured me. It's one of those things you only really hear about from other capes, and you only know us. Maybe you'd hear more about trigger events if you took a university class in parahuman studies, but I doubt you'll get the full picture there. Kind of have to go through it yourself. Lisa reached her reach over and mussed up my hair. Don't worry about it. Why'd I brought up my origins? It would have eventually been my turn, and I wouldn't. It would have eventually been my turn. I wouldn't have been able to share my own story. Maybe I'd wanted to.
I like the explanation of like the trigger events. Well, not the explanation, but like that's way later on. The reasoning behind how people get their powers if they aren't born with powers, like the X gene from X-Men, give the potential to have a mutation. But in this case, like, you gotta be having the worst fucking day of your life, and then you'll get them. Like, you need to be under so much fucking, like, it's a constant reminder that, like, remember this horrible day you had? You're gonna remember it for the rest of your life, because now you have this cool thing you can do. I love that. It's super cool to me.
Lisa said you guys were talking about me, talking about how you thought I was having a hard time and speculating on what that was. I managed to say, I don't know, I think a part of me wants to talk about it so you aren't coming up to the wrong conclusions. Talk about when I got my powers, but I don't know that I can get into it without ruining the mood. You already ruined the mood, dork. This from Alec. Brian punched him in the arm, making him yelp. Glaring at Ryan, Alec grudgingly added, which means there's no reason not to, I guess. Go for it, Lisa prodded me. It's not really an amazing story, I said, but I need to say something before I start. I already said it to Lisa, the people I'm talking about. I don't want you to take revenge on them on my behalf or anything. I need to be sure you won't. You want to get revenge yourself? Alec asked. I found myself at a bit of a loss for words. I couldn't really explain why I didn't want them interfering. I don't know. I guess I feel that if you guys jumped in and beat them or humiliated them or made them tearfully apologize, I would feel like I dealt these things. I wouldn't feel like I dealt with these things myself. There wouldn't be any closure. So whatever we hear, we don't act on it. Brian clarified. Please. It's your own prerogative, he said, taking a deep-fried zucchini off of Lisa's plate and biting it in half. She pushed her plate closer to him. Whatever, Alex said. I took a few seconds to get a few bites of my bacon cheeseburger and compose my thoughts before I began. There's 3 girls at my school that have been making my life pretty goddamn miserable, doing pretty much everything they could think of to make school suck, humiliate me, hurt me. Each of the 3 had their own individual approach, and after a good while, it was like they were trying to outdo each other in how creative or mean they could get.
Is Glory Girl a white person? Yeah, Glory Girl's white. Glory Girl's white, yeah.
My heart was pounding as I looked up from my plate to check the expression on others' faces. This is who I am, I thought. This is where I'm coming from. When they heard about the real me without whatever notion or ideas they'd gotten their heads about me or how capable I was, how would they react? It went on for almost a year and a half before things quieted down. Last year around November, I don't know. It was like they got bored. The pranks got tamer and they stopped altogether. The taunts stopped and so did most of the hate mail. They ignored me and left me alone. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I made a friend. One of the girls who had sometimes joined in on the taunting came to me and apologized. Not one of the major bullies, more like a friend of the bullies, I guess. She asked me if I wanted to hang out, and I was too gun-shy and told her no. But it got so we were talking before and after class and eating lunch together. Her approaching me and befriending me was one of the big reasons I could think the harassment was ending. I never really let my guard down around her, but she was pretty cool about it. And for most of November and the 2 weeks of classes before Christmas break, nothing. They left me alone. They were leaving me alone. I was able to relax. I sighed. That ended the day I came back from winter break. I knew instinctually that they were playing me, that they were waiting before they pulled their next stunt, so it had more impact. I didn't think they'd be so patient about it. Went to my locker and, well, they'd obviously raided the bins from the girls' bathrooms or something because they piled it They piled used pads and tampons into my locker. Almost filled it. Ew, Alec interjected, putting down his food. I was eating here. Sorry. I looked down at my plate, poking at a piece of bacon. I can stop. It's cool. Finish now, Brian ordered me. If you can say he was ordering me gently. He glared at Alec. I swallowed, feeling a flush creeping around my face. It's pretty obvious they had done it before they school closed for Christmas by the smell alone. Bent over to throw up right in a crowded hallway, everyone watching. Before I could recover to stop losing my breakfast, someone grabbed me by my hair hard enough for it to hurt and shoved me into the locker. It had been Sophia. I was almost positive. She was most physically aggressive of the three, but these guys didn't need to know her name. Why had I brought that up? I was regretting it already. Why had I brought this up? I was regretting it already. I looked at the others, but I couldn't read their expressions. I couldn't leave the story unfinished after getting this far, and as much as I really wanted to. They shut the locker and put the lock on it, and I was trapped in there with this rancid smell and puke, barely able to move. It was so full. All I could think of was that someone had been willing to get their hands that dirty to fuck with me. But of all the students that had been seen me get shoved in the locker, nobody was getting a janitor or a teacher to let me out. I panicked. I freaked out. My mind was someplace else, and it found the bugs there. Not that I knew what they were at this point, but I didn't have a sense of proportion. And with all the info my powers were giving me, my brain didn't know how to process it all. As far as I knew, all around me in the walls of the school, in the corners and crawling around the filthy interior of the locker, there were thousands of these twitchy, alien, distorted things that were shoving every tiny detail around their bodies and their fucked up biology into my head. I sighed. It's hard to explain what it's like, having a new sense open up, but you can't understand it all. Every sound that they heard was bounced back to me 100 times the volume, while the pitch and everything else all screwed up, as if they wanted to make it as unpleasant and painful to listen to as possible. Even what they were seeing, it's like having my eyes open after being in the dark for so long. But the eyes weren't attached to my body, and what they were seeing was like looking into a really dingy, grimy kaleidoscope. Thousands of them. And I didn't know how to turn any of it off. Damn, Lisa said. When someone finally let me out, I came out fighting, biting, scratching, kicking, screaming incoherently, probably putting a good show for all the kids that had come out of their classrooms to watch. The teachers had tried to deal with the situation. Paramedics eventually came, and I don't remember much after that. I figured out what my power was in the hospital while they observed me, which helped ground me, made me feel sane again. Bugs are a lot easier to wrap your head around when you realize they're bugs. After a week, maybe, I was able to shut some of it out. My dad got some money from the school, enough to pay the bills for the hospital stay and a little extra. He was talking about suing the bullies, but no witnesses were really talking, and the lawyer said it wasn't going to be successful without hard evidence to identify the reasonable. We didn't have the money for it, and if it wasn't going to be a sure thing, I never wound up telling my dad about the main group of bullies. Maybe I should have. I don't know. I'm sorry, Lisa put her hand on my shoulder. I felt grateful that she wasn't pulling away or laughing. It was my first time I'd really talked about it, and I wasn't sure I could have dealt if she had. Wait, this thing with those girls is still going on? Alec asked me. I shrugged. Basically, I went back after being in the hospital, and things were as bad as they ever were. My so-called friend wasn't making eye contact or speaking to me, and they didn't even go easy on me after seeing my episode. Why didn't you use your power? Alec asked. It doesn't even have to be that big. A bug in their lunch, maybe a bee sting on their tip of their nose or their lips. I'm not going to use my power on them. But they're making you miserable, Alec protested. I frowned. All the more reason not to. It wouldn't be hard to guess who was doing it if someone started using their powers to mess with them. Seriously? Alec leaned back in the seat, folding his arms. Look, you and I haven't talked all that much, and maybe we don't know each other all that well, but, you're not stupid. Are you honestly telling me that you're incapable of finding a subtle way to get back at them? I looked to Lisa and Brian, feeling a little backed into a corner. A little help? Lisa smiled, but said nothing. Brian shrugged and considered a few moments before telling me, I'm kind of inclined to agree with Alec. Okay, fine, I admitted. Crossed my mind, considered doing something that couldn't be traced to me, like giving them lice, but you guys remember how I went off on bitch after she sent her dogs on me? A bit of repressed anger, Lisa said, still smiling. It's the same with these guys. You know what happens if I do something that gives them, like, give them crabs? They wind up miserable, annoyed, and they take it back on me. Oh, man, Alec laughed. Crabs. You need to do that every time we go up another... You need to do that every time we go up against another cave. Can you imagine? I'd rather not. I made a face. Alec's dog tenaciousness thus far in the conversation was giving me the impression he would be hard to convince without a good reason, so I fudged the truth a little as I told him. Well, I'm not controlling them. I see everything my bugs see, feel everything they feel, pretty much. I don't want to make it a regular thing of having my bugs crawl over sweaty crotches. Yeah. Yeah, just give everyone lice and crabs. Oh. The point I'm trying to make, if you stop changing the subject, is that these girls would probably take their misery out on me, even if they didn't know I was doing it. I don't trust myself to keep from retaliating, upping the ante. You saw that what happened with me and Rachel the first time we met. Things would escalate. I'd take things too far eventually. Secret identities blown or getting someone seriously hurt, like Lung was, only without the regeneration. I don't get how you can just sit there and take it, Alec asked. Get revenge, or get one of us to go get revenge for you. Go get someone to help. Oh, hello, you big fucking nerd.
I guess I'll give you a little summary of what's going on right now. This is after the bank job, and the Undersiders all went out to go get dinner, and Taylor is talking about what how she got her powers in the first place after bringing it up, which is like a big no-no because you basically have to be having the worst day of your life. At Fugly Bob's, yeah, you basically have to be having the worst day of your life to get your powers. You have to be under like extreme stress and then some. And Taylor is talking about how she was basically shoved in a locker with, like, disgusting garbage tampons being filled into it and locked inside there. So, yeah. Yeah.
None of those things is an option, I said, with enough emphasis that I hoped my statement carried some finality. There's too much chance for things to go out of control if I take things into my own hands or have you guys do it for me. As far as we go as far as going to someone for help, I don't trust the system. Not after the court case, not after talking to some of my teachers. If it was that easy, I would have dealt with it already.
Lisa leaned forward. How did the bugs help? They didn't. It's just that she learned to control the bugs while in the disgusting tampon locker. Well, I mean, she figured out that she could after she took a trip to the mental hospital afterwards. Lame. Lisa leaned forward. Yeah, she lands herself in a mental hospital after. That's where she learns that she can control bugs.
Lisa leaned forward. Tell me it wouldn't be awesome if we kidnapped their leader, pulled a hood over her head, dragged her into a van, and dropped her off in the woods at midnight, 10 miles out of town with nothing but her skivvies. I smiled at the mental image, but I shook my head as I said, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's going too far. They shoved you into the grossest locker ever and locked the door. Alec looked at me as if I was trying to argue the Earth was square. Square Earth 2020, Square Earth.
Is Lisa okay? No, nobody in this series is okay. Nobody's okay. Because to have your power, you need to be just completely mentally and physically fucked up. and then your power is like a reminder, except for Fugly Bob. Fugly Bob is our shining hope. Your power is basically a reminder of like, hey, remember that awful day that you had? You got this cool thing you can do, but every single time you use it, you're gonna be like, hey, I got this thing on this really awful day. Except for Fugly Bob. It's the name of the restaurant they're eating at, but we've made it into a fucking meme that Fugly Bob is the final boss of the series. Yeah. Fugly Bob's. We're calling it Fugly Bob Fridays now. Whatever the real pro tag. Fugly Bob's.
Leaving her in the middle of nowhere without any clothes on is practically inviting her to be molested by the first trucker to see her, I pointed out. Fine, Alec rolled his eyes. So we tone it down some. Drop her off with no shoes, no cell phone, no wallet, no spare change, nothing she could use to negotiate her way home. Make her hike it. That would still risk her getting assaulted, I sighed. Pretty girl walking down the street on the side of the road at night. They've assaulted you. They've assaulted you? It's a little different. The only difference I see is that they deserve it and you didn't. I mean, I'm not smart like you guys are, so maybe I'm missing something.
Square Earth. The one who yells a lot? Are you talking about the Swedish Chef? Or no, Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay. I thought you were talking about the Swedish Chef from fucking Muppets. Hergy flurgy durgy. I don't know why I thought of Swedish Chef. Gordon, you fucking donkey.
I shook my head. You're not missing anything, Alec. We're looking at this from two very different perspectives. I don't really believe that the whole eye for an eye business. I was beginning to feel like I was getting control of the conversation again, then Alec dropped his bombshell. Then why the fuck are you a supervillain?
He makes a good point. Svenssons and Swedes. Well, cancel all the fucking Muppets then. Don't cancel me. I'm not Jim Henson. Go find Jim Henson's corpse and, I don't know, be like, hey, Bibbo. You canceled. Out of here. Listen, he made the Swedish Chef, not me. I don't know about you. The Swedish Chef is constantly speaking the truth. Every flurger and every herger, I agree with. To a T.
Escape. The word left my mouth almost immediately before I had a chance to think about what it meant. I couldn't have taken the time to think before speaking, or they might have known something was up. Lisa almost certainly would have.
Wordgate, Shamgate. Hold Zach accountable. He impersonated the Swedish Chef on stream. He speaks the truth, but I can't understand a lick of it. I understand it. I speak for the Swedish Chef. This is spiraling out of control. I love it.
I explained. Oh, whoa. A few tense moments passed, and I chanced to look at Lisa and Brian. Lisa was watching the dialogue with a small smile on her face, her chin resting on her palm. Brian was kind of inscrutable, arms folded in front of him, and no real expression on his face. I explained, I can deal with real life. I can deal with it behind this. Kicking ass, making a name for myself, hanging out with my friends, having fun. It kind of surprised me, but I realized what I was saying was true. I didn't need to worry about tipping Lisa off. A few seconds, I realized I might have been a little presumptuous. I mean, assuming that we are friend. If you finish that sentence, Lisa warned me, I'm gonna slap you across the head. I felt the heat of a flush in my cheeks and ears. Aww.
Taylor's got friends. Not our Zach. Listen, man. I've got 2 fucking Watergate scandals against me in one stream night. I don't know what else you want from me. You're awing over villains. I am awing over villains! You're goddamn right I'm awing over villains! Bootleg. I'm sorry. If I was owing over heroes, I'd be a bootlicker. The villains are not. There are no boots to be licked as far as the villains go. Unless you're some kind of like fucking hero propaganda agent sent to my Twitch chat to deface me.
Yes, Taylor, we're friends, Brian said, and we appreciate, or at least I appreciate that you trusted enough to share your story. Oh, God. Oh, fuck, dude. I did not mean to do that. Oh, God, we went down to the comment section. Oopsie. Oopsie daisy. Looks like we're almost done. Okay.
There we go. Corn Missouri. No. No heroes allowed in this chat. The only characters we like are anti-heroes and straight-up villains. Heroes are fucking lame. Superman is a lame-ass character. Not our Zook. Fuck you. If you don't like my opinion, get the fuck out of my chat. Alright?
I wasn't sure how to respond to that. The fact that he'd heard it and didn't give me a hard time, it meant a hell of a lot to me. Only Alec was really getting on my case about it, and he wasn't doing it in a mean-spirited way. Brian frowned. Don't suppose either of you are going to share your stories. Alec shook his head and stretched his arms out before resting them on his stomach. His silence was enough. Lisa, for her part, grinned and said, "Sorry. I like you guys, but I'm going to need a few drinks before I share that particular tidbit, and I'm not legal to drink for a few years yet."
He do. My chat is at fucking war against me.
Doesn't seem fair that Taylor's the only one sharing, Brian pointed out. I didn't tell my story because I expected you guys to reciprocate, I hurried to add. Really, it's fine. You're volunteering then? Lisa asked Brian, ignoring my protest. Brian nodded. Yeah, I guess I am.
Takes a sip. A baby sip of water. We are 5 viewers. You think Soups is lame? You clearly haven't seen Star Superman. Is Brian still a simp? Brian's simping has died down. I have seen All Star Superman. I think that some Superman is good. I like Superman Red Sun because I think that's good. But I will always stand by the fact that Superman is a lame character to me. It's when Superman is vulnerable, because people seem to forget that Superman like can be vulnerable in his stories, and he's just like this stoic, bulletproof god of destruction in the new stuff. I don't like that. I like when Superman was like, hey, even I fuck up every once in a while, and watch how. But no, Brian's simping has definitely died down a little bit. So yeah. Good for Brian. He's become less of a simp. Actually, you know what? Before I start this, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. This is your chance to go to the bathroom yourself. Go get your snack. Go get drinky. Go get alcohol. Whatever you want to get. I'll be right back in like 5 minutes. Bye bye. Hulkamania. I always check my mic as I walk by my computer just to make sure everything's muted, because I feel like you guys can hear me taking a fucking piss. And I come back and I'm a supporter of underage drinking. I think y'all are misconstruing my words. I am not a supporter of underage drinking. I just think the legal drinking age should be lowered to 5. That's all. I just think the legal age should be lowered to 5. That's all. I see you were raised in Europe. Right out of the womb, I give my child a sip of vodka, and he turns into a man right before my very eyes. It's beautiful. This is why you never see any Russian children. All men and women, right out of the womb. Right out of the womb. Whoosh. Fully grown. Hey, vodka, put hair on your chest. It turn you into man. Vodka is substitute for hormone therapy. Drinking enough vodka, you become manly Russian man. Zook. Very good. Alright, let's get back into it. We're gonna probably do 2 well, we'll see where we're at by the time 4.6 happens, because we seem to be doing good on time tonight. Vodka is a substitute for hormone therapy. Yes, you heard it here first, folks. I'm trying to support my trans fans. Doing my best. Fix my mic for a second. Okay. Let us get right into the worm. Shell 4.4. An evening crowd had started to fall into fugly bobs. Large groups that were grabbing beers and moving tables together to accommodate their individual crowds. As one group began dragging tables into one long row in the middle of the patio, not far from where we were sitting, Brian asked, "Want to go? Share my bill on the way back." There were no arguments, so we paid our bill and left. Brian was gracious enough to carry some of Lisa's and my bags, in addition to his own, lightening our load. The market itself, that's because Brian's a... Okay, you know what? Never mind. Brian is still a simp. Carrying women's bags sounds like simp behavior to me. Do you agree? Give me some agreement in the chat if you agree and disagree, or debate me. I don't care. Yes, simp behavior. I knew it. The market itself had mostly emptied, with the various merchants and shoppers having left to go get their dinners. Only the stalls and vendors that were selling food were sticking out. Brian apparently deemed it safe to begin. I agree with fight you. Then why fight me? You're finding an excuse to punch me? Okay. For background, I guess it's important to mention that my parents split up when I was 13. Hey, same! Brian told us. I went with my father and my sister Aisha with my mom. Aisha and I kind of stayed in touch, but there's 4 years difference between our ages, and our interests were completely different, so there wasn't a lot to say. I sent her a text message about how my day at school had been painfully dull. A few days later, she'd send me an email about a cartoon she liked, or she'd ask me for advice on what to do when she got an F on a spelling test. Simp is a dying culture. Maggie, are you a simp? Are you some kind of simp? Last I checked, I didn't think you could be a simp, but are you telling me are you a simp? Are you defending simp culture? Are you defending Brian, the last of the simps? So you don't have to fucking punch you.
We weren't close. It wasn't really possible, since I was living at the south end of the city and she was up here. But one night I got a text from her. 2 words. Help me. I called, but the line was busy. To this day, I don't know why I took it so seriously, but I got over to my mom's place as fast as humanly possible. Ran out from the door, sprinted 2 blocks to Lord Street downtown and grabbed the cab. Left the cab driver shouting for his money as I charged through the front of that front door of my mom's place and found my sister. She was crying, but she wasn't saying what was wrong. I didn't bother asking a second time. I gave her a hug, picked her up, and started to leave. A new man I didn't recognize got in my way. My mom's new boyfriend.
Brian, the last simp bender.
I knew he was the reason when she texted me for help, from the moment I saw her reaction. Maybe I'd suspected there was something going on even before that. The way her emails and texts had changed in tone. It would explain that gut feeling I'd had that made me get over there as fast as he did. I saw her shrink back, I felt her hold me tighter, and I went cold inside. He paused for a second, just waiting in silence. I almost thought that he was done, somehow, until he suddenly turned to me. I think I mentioned, Taylor, my father had been a boxer while he was in service? Yeah, I replied. Well, my father's a hard man. Not the kind of man that meant to raise a son alone. I wouldn't say he was abusive, but never any warmth to him. No charming anecdotes, no fatherly wisdom, no throwing baseballs in the backyard. The extent of our bonding was in the gym, him holding the punching bag in position while shouting at me that I was doing something wrong, staying grimly quiet if my form, my timing, the raw power of my hits were all flawless. Or we'd wait in the ring with boxing helmets and gloves on, a 35-year-old man in peak physical condition barely holding up against his 15-year-old son. He expected me to keep up or take the hits, and I didn't have any choice in the matter. So even if I was only 15, I was tall for my age. I was fit. I knew how to throw a punch. I didn't say a word, didn't make a sound. Put my sister down and beat my mother's boyfriend within an inch of his life, my mother screaming and wailing the entire time. When I was done, I picked my sister up and returned to the cab. When we went to my father's that night, and we went to the police station the next morning. When you throw a punch barehanded, it doesn't leave your hands pristine. A few good swings, you connect solidly with someone's face, someone's teeth, and it tears the fuck out of your knuckles. It's my father's place that night, washing and cleaning my hands when I saw it. It wasn't just blood leaking out of my torn up knuckles, but there was the darkness too, like wisps of really black smoke. You hear about trigger events, you might think it's all rage or fear, and I'm testament it can be the opposite. I didn't feel a fucking thing. Wow, I said. That's my story. I can't think of a nice way to put this, but why aren't you in jail after thrashing that guy?
Brian sighed.
It was a close call, but the guy I beat up had violated terms of his probation by not going to his Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and Aisha backed me up as far as saying that. Well, it was well deserved. He came across as the bad guy more than I did. He got 6 months in jail, I got 3 months of community service. And you've been good as gold ever since, haven't you? Lisa grinned. Brian smiled at that. These guys know already, but I don't think I mentioned it to you, he said to me. I go into this for Aisha. My mother lost custody of her after child services stepped in, so Aisha's living with my father now. Problem is, he's not an ideal parent. It's been nearly 3 years and he still doesn't know what to do with a daughter, so they mostly ignore each other. But she's acting out, getting into trouble, and she just needs someone watching over her head that isn't him and our mother. I turn 18 in June, and when I do, I plan to get my mother's and father's parental rights terminated and apply to become Aisha's guardian. To do that, I'm going to need money. Thus his current, rather lucrative form of employment,
Lisa pointed out.
Brian stuck his hand into his pockets. My father was given a blessing as far as my taking custody of my hellion of a sister. My mother made it clear she is going to fight to every step of the way. That means legal fees. If it means paying a private investigation to get proof that my mother hadn't kicked her habits as far as drugs and the fucked up boyfriends, I'll need an apartment that's going to pass for inspection, with a space ready and set aside for Aisha. More than anything, I've got to present myself as someone that's financially secure and responsible enough to make up for the fact that other option is Aisha's own mother. The boss is helping out with that last bit, Lisa said. The allowance and the share of other income Brian is getting is coming back into him in the form of a paycheck from a legitimate company, The manager said the company is both willing and able to provide a glowing recommendation on his behalf. Which I'm less than thrilled about, Brian admitted. It's convenient. I don't know how else I'd manage it. But I don't like being so reliant on someone I don't know at all. He could walk away with $40,000. Ideal. But if he fucked me up on this... You said it earlier, Lisa assured him. He has no reason to. True. Doesn't make me feel any better. I think what you're doing is very noble, I said. No. Brian almost sounded offended at the idea. Just doing what I have to. His family, you know? Yeah, I said. I know. I couldn't understand how family was I couldn't understand how family was a priority. We fell silent for a minute or two, only partially because some mothers with oversized strollers had turned a corner and were walking in front of us, putting them easily in earshot. The other reason was that there hadn't been too much to add to the conversation.
I mean, he's not really the antagonist, that's the thing. The antagonist is someone who's trying to get in the way of the protagonist. They're not evil though. That's the thing. They're bad guys, but they're not like bad people. They're anti-villains in a sense. Like every hero in this is an anti-hero.
Where was I? I was relieved when the two moms parked their strollers and stopped to look at a store window because it let us get ahead of them. Groups of people who take up the entire sidewalk so you'd have to step onto the road to go around them are a definite pet peeve of mine.
Me too.
Obvious people who block the entire sidewalk and walk slowly enough that you're forced to dawdle, yet fast enough that you can't walk around them. They make me fantasize about bringing swarms of bees down on their heads. Not that I would actually do it, of course. When we talk about when we were free to talk again, I found myself struggling to think of a new topic of conversation. I glanced at Brian, trying to gauge how he was feeling after telling his story. Was he really okay, or was he just really good at reassuring his feelings? He looked totally normal, as relaxed as one could expect for someone who was carrying as many shopping bags as he was. Hey, what did you buy? I asked him. Some stuff for my apartment. Placemats, a piece of art I got to put in a frame. Kind of boring. I found a neat statue. The guy said it was a concept sculpt that he did in a horror movie that never panned out. I was thinking it was a freakish looking face, and since I'm thinking of updating my costume, I was considering using the statue as inspiration for a new mask. More on the skull. You'll have to show me, I said. Actually, he paused. You're the person I was most interested in showing it to. Your costume is pretty cool, and I was wondering if you had any suggestions on where to go.
Where?
For costumes. I stared at him blankly for a few seconds, trying to piece together what he was saying. Having my powers is really frustrating sometimes, Lisa complained. It's like being the only one with eyes in the land of the blind, Taylor. Brian is asking you where you bought your costume. Brian, she didn't buy her costume. She made it from scratch. No shit, his eyebrows raised. It's spider silk, I said. So it's got a tensile strength that only has a hair less than steel, but it's a fraction of the weight. It's not as strong as Kevlar, but it stretches, which means it's going to handle regular wear and tear better than a costume-made steel Kevlar rubber would. Making it was kind of complicated because of how I needed to manage the spiders and weave it. But basically, I had the spiders to do the work while I concentrated. Brian nodded. It's pretty damn cool. Would you make me one? They gave me pause. I wouldn't expect you to do it for free, he added. How much are we talking? I asked. Name a price. I thought on it. 2,000. He chuckled. No discount for me being a team member and a friend? That is with a discount, I said. It takes time. Long hours of having to be in general proximity to the bugs as they work, which I can't do all the time because my dad would see if I left them out while he was home. Plus, I have to rotate spiders so I can constantly have a fresh supply of silk, but I can't have so many in the neighborhood that people would notice. It's not easy.
Some casual mats, yeah. Why not make just like 1B to make them disperse? I don't think like 1B would do the trick though. And I mean, have you walked behind those people before? Like they will not. If you scream at them, they will not react. They just keep walking in groups, taking up entire sidewalks and then some. I see them every day on my walk. It's awful.
If it's that big of an issue, then change. If that's the big issue, then change locations. Lisa suggested. To where? It has to be a place where I'm spending a lot of time, some place with room to work, where I can keep a few tens of thousands of spiders without anyone noticing. The loft? Lisa shrugged. Or to be more specific, the area under the loft? That stopped me. It made so much sense I could have kicked myself for not thinking of the instant Lisa suggested changing locations. Whoa, Alec cut in. Tens of thousands of spiders? If I want the work to be relatively quick, I said, yeah, we're probably talking about that much. Especially since I suspect Brian is going to want something a little heavier. The floor used under the loft could definitely work. I mean, it's not like a few cobwebs will attract any attention if anyone sticks their heads in, right? Alec ran his fingers through his hair, which I took to be a sign of stress or worry. It was a rare thing to see him have anything but as bored or half distracted. As if to confirm my thoughts, he said, I don't want tens of thousands of spiders just lurking below me, making spider noises and climbing upstairs to crawl on me while I sleep.
Do spiders even make a noise? I don't think they do.
I tried to reassure him. Black widows don't tend to roam, and they're more likely to devour each other than they are to bite you. I mean, wouldn't want to provoke one. Black widow's spiders? Alec groaned. This is the point where you say you're messing with me. It's cool, I can take a prank. They had the strongest dragline silk you'll get from any spider around here, I said. I'd love to get my hands on something better like a Darwin bark spider. They've got the strongest of silk of any arachnid worm out there. It could make fabric five times as tough as Kevlar. I'd ask our boss to see them about getting some, if I thought they could survive in this mild climate. You're not kidding about black widow spiders. Remember the ones I brought to the bank robbery? I brought them from home. Fuck, Alex said. Then he repeated himself. Fuck. And now Brian's gonna insist that the costume, I'm not on that costume, so this is probably gonna happen. Arachnophobic? I asked, a little surprised his reaction was so strong. No, but I don't think anyone would be spooked by the idea of tens of thousands of spiders being in the same building as them. I definitely would. I 100% would. We'll work something out, Lisa grinned. Think you could micromanage enough to make me one too? It struck me that I was thinking of just putting some high-quality costumes for villains. I wasn't sure how I felt on the subject. I can micromanage my bugs enough to make two at once, sure, but it's really just a pain in the ass. I was so relieved to be done with my own costume, and I'm not looking forward to the idea of making two more. All true enough. Let me think on it? 1,500, Brian said. I'll go that high now that we've come up with a way to maybe handle the logistics of it. I think it's a fair offer. Okay, I said. Money didn't hold any sway with me over, really. I mean, big numbers could make my eyes widen, but at the end of the day, I had no plans to spend my ill-gotten gains. All in all, it took us maybe an hour to get back to the loft. I didn't mind. My training meant the hike didn't tire me out much, and the company was good. As we made our way into the building and the others headed up to the stairs, I stayed behind to look at the factory area of the first floor. If I could maybe secure some plywood to the frames that had been treadmills, it would mean I would have several long countertops for my bugs to work on. Add some sort of cage at the back to house them, but where would I find some sort of grid or cage or containers that could have housed tens of thousands of individual spiders? Something I could work out. Whether I sold them on egg cartons or built the entire thing that helped or built the entire thing with the help of bug labor, I knew it was doable somehow. The question was, did I want to do it? I made my way upstairs, deep in thought. Where's Rachel? Brian asked as he returned from the other end of the loft. Brutus and Angelica trotting behind him, tails wagging. Only two of her dogs are here. We're 20 minutes later than we said we'd be, Lisa pointed out. Maybe she went ahead? You guys get ready, Brian directed us. We told our employer we'll hand over the cash at some point tonight. If we take too long, it's going to reflect badly on us. I'll take care of Rachel to see what's up, since it doesn't take as long to get my stuff on. She keeps tens of thousands of pounds in her month. Does she have like a bank account? I think so.
Oh no! She's keeping it in like the bag that she has in her basement. That has her costume in it. She's keeping it in her gym bag.
You guys get ready, Brian directed us. Whoa, hold on. I read that already. Alec, Lisa, and I headed towards our individual rooms. After shutting the door, I got my costume from the bottom drawer of my bedside table. I laid it out with my inflatable mattress, then gathered and lined up my arsenal for my utility component: pepper spray, knife, telescoping, combat baton, notepad, EpiPens, a change purse with some spare change, and a 20 inside an unused disposable cell phone. Everything I'd been able to think of for what I'd need to keep with me. Pen, I realized. It was a little thing, but a notepad did me good without a notepad did me little good without a pen. I headed for the dresser and stopped short. On top of the dresser there was a crystal. Except crystal was the wrong word. It's a teardrop-shaped piece of amber, polished and smooth, almost a foot tall. Set into stone base so it stood upright. Inside was a dragonfly. The dragonfly was so large it almost didn't fit. It wouldn't have fit even if the wings had curled inward towards the tips as the amber set. Where the lights from the loft's window touched the crystal, it cast the top of the dresser and some of the walls deep in the shades of yellow and orange, with hints of dark blue when it passed through the dragonfly's translucent wings. There was a note beside it. So it seemed very you. Considered a belated welcome present. Brian.
Simp. No, because she said her dad never goes down in her basement. Brian buying things for a girl sounds like a simp to me. Brian's the kind of guy who's a fucking tier 3 Pokimane sub. He definitely is working like 3 jobs to make sure Pokimane's are the top donated Twitch streamer. Fucking simp.
I was stunned. He must have left it while I was still downstairs. I hurried to get into costume, found my pen in the dresser, and put the contents of my utility compartment in place. When that was done, I pulled on some jeans, a sweater, and a jacket over the top of the costume, finishing up with a nearly empty backpack to cover the slight hump of my armor on my back. It's only after I was totally ready that I headed out my room and found Brian on the couch. While I was sure he'd be gracious either way, I was assuming he would appreciate it more if I got ready first and then thanked him, instead of the other way around. He was still in the living room, pulling out his leather motorcycle jacket over a protective vest. I don't know what to say. His forehead creased. Is that okay? I was thinking maybe giving you a rock with a dead bug inside wasn't the nicest. It's perfect, I interrupted him. Really, thank you. I never knew what to say when getting a gift. I always worried about my thanks sounded false, forced, or sarcastic even when they were genuine. Impulsively, I gave him the briefest of hugs. It was only the way I could make my gratitude clear. Hey! A voice from behind me scared the wits out of me. No romance in the workplace. Turn around to see Alec and Lisa oh my god, I cannot read tonight. I turned around to see Alec and Lisa standing in the hallway, grinning, in Lisa's case, grinning more than usual. Must have turned beet red. It's not... No, I was just thanking him for... I know, dork, I was with him when he bought it. Mercifully, Lisa changed the subject. Any word from our resident sociopath? Brian frowned. No, her phone's out of service, which shouldn't be, since I was the one who turned it on. Activated and gave her earlier today. Something's up. The good nature mood from moments before was gone. We exchanged looks between us, and nobody was smiling now. I think, Brian said, weighing his words carefully, it would be a very good idea to check on the money ASAP. Alright. I think this is...
Nah, you know what? We'll maybe read, like, 2 more. Maybe 3 more, and we'll call it. Yeah, sounds about right. We're only an hour and 45 minutes in right now. You know, we'll read a couple more and then call
it. Shell 4.5. Sunsets were always the best after a spell of bad weather. Today was no exception. Following the day, half of heavy rain we just suffered through, the sky was turning vivid shades of orange and crimson, with purple highlights on thin red clouds that were moving briskly in the strong wind. It looked amazing as we approached the water of the bay, but none of us were really in the mood to appreciate it. It was like we were an entirely different group of people from the group of friends that we had walked from the market to the loft. There was no conversation, no joking, no bonding.
Ooh, excuse me.
Oh my god. Sorry. We were all thinking of the same thing, that something was wrong and something had happened. Nobody voiced their suspicions, though as if there was an unspoken agreement that we would only make it true by saying it aloud. In silence, we caught the bus at the ferry and got off at the train yard, the part of the docks that sat opposite to the boardwalk. As a group, we walked half a block from the bus stop around the block of a derelict building and stripped out of our civilian clothes. The storage facility was just a block from the train yard, just past the chain-link fences. I could see long-abandoned boxcars sat like oversized crumbling tombstones, overgrown with weeds, surrounded by discarded bottles and makeshift shelters. The entire area was
desolate.
Empty. It was hard to say why the bus even came this way. I suppose maybe there was a skeleton crew of employees maintaining the rails for the trains that happened to pass through. We descended into the maze. Each storage locker was only about 10 feet by 10 feet across, but there were hundreds of them. Each one joined to the one beside it, organized into disorganized rows rows 10 or 20 brick shacks. It was a common enough sight. Places like this were scattered all over Brockton Bay. Decades ago, when unemployment rates skyrocketed, people started using these storage lockers as places to live. Some enterprising individuals had caught on and storage blocks much like this one had appeared in the places dilapidated warehouses and parking lots. It was, in an on and off of the book sort of way, the lowest budget living accommodations you could find, a way for people who had apartments and homes of their own to keep the most cherished possessions and sleep on the bed at night. But things turned sour. These storage facilities became drug dens, gathering places for gangs and areas where the crazies would congregate. Epidemics of the flu and strep throat had swept through these neighborhoods of closely packed, unwashed, and malnourished groups of people and left dead in their wake. Some who didn't die to sickness were knifed with their belongings or starved, and corpses were left to rot behind the closed doors of their rented storage lockers. At the end of the day, the city cracked down and the lockers fell out of favor. But then local industry had crashed enough that the homeless and destitute were able to migrate to the abandoned warehouses, factories, and apartments blocks to squat there instead. The same general problems were still there, of course, but at least things weren't so densely packed into a volatile situation. That left these sprawls of storage lockers scattered over the city, particularly in the docks. They were largely unused now, just upon row of identical
Somebody scream at me.
Just row upon row of identical sheds with the faded or illegible rumblers painted on top. No, numbers, not rumblers, you dumbass. Each with a corrugated steel roof bolted securely on top. Slanted just enough that people wouldn't be able to comfortably walk or sleep on top of them. We're looking for 1306. Gru spoke, breaking the silence that had hung over us for an hour. It took us a few minutes to find. There weren't any really rhyme or reason to the layout of the lockers or the numbering. Probably, I guess, the lockers had been set down where there was room, and given the first number that was available, the only reason we found the locker was as fast as we did that Brian had been there before with Rachel. The vastness of the space and the disorganization was a target of the reason we had stashed the money here, of course. If we had trouble even we knew where we were going, then someone who had the number and got the key from us would find it even more time-consuming.
Oh, hello. Welcome. You're new. Never seen you before. Make yourself comfortable. we're reading some Worm. Feel free to yeah, hi there. Unfortunately, you're kind of in the middle of an arc, but you're more than welcome to stay and listen. The if you really want to catch up, the all my VODs are gonna be linked to my YouTube, which are just called Grunge Show VODs. If you want to go catch up, you absolutely can. And if you really don't mind, dropping me a follow would be greatly appreciated, because it just helps me know that people really want to see more of this. So yeah, stick around, get comfy. Thanks for stopping by.
When Gru filled with the lock, I glanced down both ends of the alley we were in. Except for a forklift parked in a short distance away, it was eerily quiet. A ghost town, I thought. If ghosts existed, there would be they would reside in places like this, where so much misery, violence, and death had occurred.
Oh, thanks, bro. Much appreciated.
Shit, Gru said as the door swung open. My heart sank. I stood on my toes to get a look inside. The locker housed only a broad smudge in the thick layer of dust on the floor, a single light bulb dangling from a power cord, and a dark stain in the corner. No money. I vote we kill her, Regent said. My eyebrows went up. You think he was bitch? Would she just take the money and run? If you asked me 5 hours ago, I would have said no, Regent replied. I would have told you, sure, she's a loose cannon, she's reckless, crazy, and she's easily pissed off, and she'll hospitalize most of the people who piss her off, but I'd have to say she's loyal, even if it doesn't necessarily like us. She doesn't like anyone. I interrupted. Right, she doesn't like anyone, us included, but we're the closest thing she has to friends or family besides her dogs. I would have thought she'd thrown that away. She didn't, Telltale spoke. It wasn't her. Who was it? Gru asked. The haunting echo of his voice had an edge of anger to it. A cape, Telltale replied, almost absent-mindedly, as if she was focusing on something else. Someone who can pick locks. The door wasn't forced. A villain? I asked. A villain, Telltale echoed me. I couldn't tell if she was clarifying what I'd said, or if she was echoing my words while she paid attention to something else. More than one, and they're still here. A soft clapping answered her. It was slow and enthusiastic to the point of being sarcastic. New character. Who is this?
I think this is Uber and late. So, here we go. Hold on. Let me take a sip of water first. Hold on.
Brilliantly deduced. The same person that had been clapping spoke out. As Tattletale whipped her head around and took a few steps back from the storage locker to get a better look at the two people who stood on the roof. They were standing with one leg higher than the other to keep them sliding off the angled roof, and both were wearing identical costumes. The costumes sported blue man leotards with broad belts cinched around their waists, skin-tight white sleeves, and leggings. Their hoods were elastic, clinging to their heads so they left only a window for the face, and each sported a single white antenna. Of all colors, their gloves, boots, and the balls at the top of their antenna were bubblegum pink. Their faces were obscured by oversized goggles with dark lenses. Other than their costumes, though, they couldn't have been more than different. One of the figures was scrawny with a weak chin and a bad slouch. The other had a sculpted physique, broad shoulders, and tall tail. Tall. The lines of his muscles clearly visible through his skin-tight costume. Uber and Leet, Telltale greeted them.
I forgot the word. This is horrific imagery. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it really is. Telltale greeted them. I can't tell you how relieved I am. For a second, I thought we were gonna have this. We had something to be worried about. Rest assured, Tattletale, you do. Uber proclaimed. He was the sort of person who proclaimed, announced, broadcast, and declared. Just like Gru's powers altered his voice to make him sound more haunting and inhuman, Uber's powers made him sound like a guy who narrated trailers for action movies or late night commercials.
Oh shit! Rest assured, Tattletale, you do.
Overdramatic, intense about everything he said, no matter how mundane. Like something overacting the role of a gallant knight in a kids movie. I looked around for what I thought of as the snitch. I finally spotted it as a small round shadow against the backdrop of the sunset red sky, just above the glaring silver of the sun. It was a camera mounted in a golden sphere of the size of a tennis ball. It was capable of moving like a hummingbird, staying safe and always recording. Uber and Leet streamed topical all of their costumed activity online. Very topical indeed. So people could tune in whenever to see what they were up to. I was pretty sure they had a time delay, so events that the camera recorded would play out online in a half hour to an hour. I could admit I had watched myself a couple times, which is how I knew it was about the snitch. Each time I tuned in, I had surprised to see there were thousands of viewers. Alright, come on, guys. Get it together. Where's my being on the front of the Twitch page? Come on. If these two fucks in a leotard can do this, are you a superhero? No, I'm just a normal guy. I have nothing special about me. My blindness is my superpower. I can't see anything. I stopped because it wasn't feel-good watching. They were real underdogs, struggling to succeed, which made you feel sorry for them. Made you want to root for them until they did something despicable. Then you found yourself looking at them in a negative light, looking down at them, cheering whenever they failed. It felt too much like I'd been looking at them in the same way Emma, Madison, and Sophia looked at me and had always been a major turnoff. After spotting the camera, which had no doubt positioned to catch a view of us looking at two villains, our shadows long behind us, I turned my gaze back to Papar. With my power, though, I sent a collection of flies to congregate around the camera. It didn't take long for the camera to start going spastic in the periphery of my vision, as if it were trying to shake off. I smiled behind my mask. Leet frowned and turned to my camera. Is that really necessary? You fucked with us, I replied. I'll fuck your subscriber base. Telltale and Regent grinned at each other and chuckled, respectively. Only Gru stayed quiet. He was standing very still, but the darkness around him was rolling like a stoked fire. What's the theme of tonight? Regent called out. Your costumes are so terrible I can't directly look at them long enough to try and figure it out. Leet and Uber glared at him. Their entire shtick was a video game theme. With every escapade, they picked a different video game or series depending on their costumes and crime around it. One day it would be Leet in a Mario costume throwing fireballs while Uber was dressed as Bowser, the two of them breaking into a mint to collect coins. Then a week later they would have a Grand Theft Auto theme, and they would be driving in the city in a souped-up car, ripping off the ABV and beating up hookers. Like I said, despicable.
Your eyes can have surprise seizures. That does. An MGS theme?
Colonel. I'm trying to be a supervillain, but I'm dummy thick. The clap of my ass keeps alerting the villains.
Uber and Leet are both dummy thick in their costumes. I should give one of them a fucking solid Snake voice. Why did I think of that? Damn it!
Colonel. My leotard's making me dummy thick. Uber approached the situation of the roof and stabbed his fingers in Regent's direction. You! He didn't get to finish. Regent swung his arm out on one side and Uber lost his footing. I joined the others in stepping back out of the way as she fell face first into the pavement at the base of the locker.
Oh, thank you. I mean, whenever someone mentions MGS, I have to do the Snake voice. It's like a necessity. Yeah. Thank you. I try. This is like a not only getting like a story to you guys. It's also me exercising how many voices I can do, because there's a lot of characters in this story. I'm saving the Snake voice for someone special though. I know who I'll give the Snake voice to.
Too bad you're fucking with the camera, Regent commented, tilting his head in the direction. I would have liked to see how many hits this clip would have gotten on YouTube. Give me some advance warning next time, I told him. Maybe a hand signal? We had backed away from the locker as Uber... Oh, wait, did I? Oh, no, I did that. I did that. We had backed away from the locker as Uber fell, and we retreated another few steps as he stood. Leet hopped down to stand beside him. The money, Gru spoke. Where is it? How did you find it?
Your fifth team member led us straight to it. Lucky happenstance, really, Leet grinned. As for how we found her, he trailed off. Gru spoke in a low voice that wouldn't carry to the pair of villains. They did something to bitch. They've got the money. If we don't have a decisive victory here, our reputation's fucked. No holds barred? Telltale murmured. Leave one of them in a state to be interrogated. Make it lead since Uber's powers make him annoying to keep contained. Give him a chance and he can figure out something to do anything like he's a goddamn expert at it. And probably extend to escaping our ropes or handcuffs, alright? I'm game, I answered. Surprised at how excited I was. This was the sort of thing I had to put on a costume to do. Sure, the context wasn't what I would have chosen, but going up against bad guys... I smiled behind my mask, reaching out for my bugs. Alright. Yeah, this is gonna be our last chapter for the night. And for our new friend, I'll go over the schedule once we're finished. Shell 4.6. We weren't the only ones who were discussing strategy. As I turned my full attention to the pair, I saw Uber and Leet were muttering to one another. When they realized I was looking at them, they stopped talking. Uber wiped again at the blood under his nose and took a step forward. Enough talking. I have to do like the in a world voice for Uber. I wish there were more. I find it very funny that there's a superhero called Uber in this, years before Uber was a thing. I wish there were more bugs in the area. The storage facility made for a disappointing selection. Bugs had to live off something, and there was a little around here except pavement, concrete, and brick. They left me only cockroaches and moths that had lived off the contents of the lockers that they could access, and spiders... Ooh, God, excuse me. That dwelled in dark corners. However lame the pair were, I wasn't happy about going up against two supervillains with so little at my disposal. I didn't get a chance to dwell on it because Uber charged in. I hurried to get out of his way. Uber's powers made him talented. It didn't matter if he was playing the harmonica, parkour stunts, or Muay Thai. He could pull it off like he'd been working on it for hours a day for most of his life. If he really focused on it the way I understood it, he could be top-notch. In short, there was no fucking way I was going to let him get close to me. Gru had the opposite perspective. He stepped forward and then disappeared as darkness swelled around him. A second later, Uber stumbled out of one side of the cloud, landed on his rear end, and then did a fancy spinning kick maneuver to bring himself on his feet again. The juxtaposition of clumsiness and technique was outright bizarre. My bugs were gathering nearby now, but few of these were useful. Somewhere in the periphery of my consciousness, I had connected to a fledgling wasp nest hanging from a storage facility near the train yard. They were more useful, but extricating them all from the nest and bringing them to my location would take a minute. I brought the nest of the bugs to the swarm nearby, letting the group grow until I had use for them. Both Kidwin and Lung had obliterated my swarm when I'd attacked them, so I couldn't risk being more or less powerless if Leet pulled a similar stunt. Leet slapped in as Uber circled around us. Reaching behind his back, Leet retrieved what he looked like an old school bomb. Round black iron, casting it with a lit fuse sticking out of it. The way the light bounced off of it made it look wrong, though, like it was a picture of a bomb instead of a real one. Regent waved his hand and the bomb slipped in from Leet's grip. Rolling a few feet, Leet's mouth opened into a round O as he bolted. Uber wasn't far behind. As he joined the rest of us in running for cover, Regent half-turned thrust out one hand. Uber stumbled and fell just 10 feet from the armed explosion. The blast radius was thankfully small. The shockwave had rippled past us and didn't even make me lose my footing. Uber, though, went flying. Leet watched his friend roll with the impact, trying to stagger his feet and fall again. He turned to us with his face etched up in hard lines of anger.
I keep wondering when you guys are going to give up, Tattletale grinned. I mean, you fail often more than you succeed. You make more cash from your web show than you do from actual crimes. You've been arrested no more than 3 times. You're probably going to wind up in the birdcage next time, aren't you? Our mission is worth it, Lee raised his chin. Inasmuch as he had one, a notch.
Weak chin. Weak baby chin.
Right, Tattletale said. Spreading the word around the noble and underrated art form that is video games.
Do not offend the gamers. Don't you dare offend the gamers. Gamers rise up.
It's from your website, word for word. People don't watch your show because they think you're righteous. They watch because you're so lame. It's funny. Lee took a step forward, fist clenched, but Uber called out,
"She's provoking you."
Damn right I am. And I can do it because I'm not scared of you. I don't have any powers that are useful in a fight, and you guys don't intimidate me in the least. A guy who's good at everything yet still manages to fuck up half the time, and a tinker who can only make stuff that breaks comically. I could make anything.
Gamers rise up.
I could make anything, Leap boasted. Once. You can make anything once. The closer something is to you invent to something you've made before, the more likely it is to blow up in your face or misfire. Real impressive. I could demonstrate, Leet threatened, jabbing a thumb over his shoulder. Please don't. I hear the carbonized dash of geek is hell to get out of the costume.
You say geek like it's a bad thing,
Uber said in his characteristically overdramatic tone.
It's a badge of honor. Gamers rise up.
Among geeks, sure, Regent replied. But there's clowns out there that consider being a clown to be a noble calling, while the rest of us just laugh at them. Catch my drift? Enough, Leek growled. It's obvious you're trying to antagonize us. I just admitted it. That's not obvious. That's fact, Lisa pointed out. We won't be baited, Leet raised his voice. I think it's time for our great reveal. Our guest, he was cut off as Greel blasted him in the face with a cloud of darkness. Leet stepped out of the cloud sputtering.
I realized that I need to make him even more nasally because I want to do Virgil's voice for at least one of these characters. So I had to make him super nasal.
They're laughing at you, Leet. Tattletale heckled him. You're trying to be dramatic, all intense for your viewers, and they're just sitting at their computers snorting at how much you suck. Even Uber's laughing at you behind your back. Shut up! Lee spat the words lancing over his head as at his teammate. I trust Uber.
I trust Uber to get me places.
Why are you even with this guy, Uber? Regent asked. I mean, you're kind of lame, but at least you accomplished something if he wasn't fucking up half your jobs.
He's my friend,
Uber replied like it was the simplest thing in the world. So you don't deny he's holding you back, Lisa pointed out. Shut up, Lee roared. Even if he didn't have a very deep voice, it was probably closer to a screech. Yeah, see, there we go. He pulled out another bomb and flung it at us before Regent could make him fumble again. We scattered, with Regent and Tattletale and I running away while Gru shrouded himself and Uber in darkness. As I scrambled for cover, I directed my bugs to attack Lee. He'd done something different this time because bombs didn't take half the time the first bomb had before it detonated. It caught me off guard and I didn't get a chance to throw myself to the ground as a result. The blast caught me full in the back. The air and the fire that rolled over me wasn't hot. That was the most surprising thing. That wasn't to say it didn't hurt, but it felt more like getting punched by a really big hand than what I would have thought an explosion would feel like. I can remember Lung's blast of fire, Kid Wins shattering the wall with his cannon. This felt false. The bombs are false? I asked aloud as I picked myself up the ground. I ached, but I wasn't blurred. They're solid holograms, Tattletale said. Actually pretty neat if you ignore how ineffective they are. I guess you could make real bombs without fucking up. Leet snarled, though it was hard to say whether it was Tattletale's words or the moths, wasps and cockroaches that had settled onto him. As I'd suspected, they weren't doing much. Even crawling for his nose and mouth, they didn't really slow him down. Maybe there was a downside to getting him furious like Tattletale and Regent were intent on doing. He whipped out 2 more bombs and Regent was quicker this time, snapping his hands out. Leet recovered before he dropped the bombs and pulled his arms back to throw them. Regent was ready, though, and one of Leet's legs jerked out from under him. He fell to the ground, the bombs rolling a few feet away from him before going off. He slammed into the door hard enough I thought he might have managed to kill himself. Before I could approach and check his pulse, though, he began struggling to get to his feet. Good thing you make those things non-lethal, I muttered half to myself. You're 1 for 4. Glaring at us, he reached behind his back again and withdrew a sword. Link's sword? Regent taunted him. That's not even from the right game. You're breaking theme. I think I speak for everyone when I say we just lost a little respect we had for you.
This exact conversation is one I have had with Anna so many times. Can you attest to that? This exact conversation. Whenever I bring up like a video game or an anime, it's like she just immediately goes like, yeah, we're no longer friends. You can attest to this. Yeah, exactly.
Leet lunged for the two of them. He didn't get 3 steps before Regent made him stumble and fall to his hands and knees. The sword slipped from his grasp and slid over the pavement before flickering out of existence. He was only a few feet away from me, too focused on Telltale and Regent to pay attention to me. I reached behind my back, withdrew my baton, and snapped it out at its full length. As he started climbing to his feet, reaching behind his back for what I realized was a thin, hard backpack.
Oh, God. Gamers, settle down. Quiet, femoid.
As he started climbing to his feet, reaching behind his back for what I realized was a thin, hard backpack, I swatted his hand with a length of metal. He yelped, pulling his hand back to the chest to cradle it. I hit him in the calf just below the knee and a little harder than I intended to. He crumpled. Stepping around him, I grabbed the end of the baton with my other hand and pulled the length of the metal hard against his throat. Leet started to make strange choking noises. He caught me off guard by bucking backward, throwing the two of us onto our backs, him on top of me. I winced as the impact brought his weight against the bruised area of my chest where Glory Girl had thrown Tattletale at me. I didn't lose my grip, though. Ignoring the 130 pounds on top of me, I was glad for an extra leverage being on the ground afforded me. You okay? Gru asked in the echoing voice. He stepped forward so he was standing over me. Peachy, I replied, huffing with exertion. Don't pull it against his windpipe. He'll get tired enough that you'll lose your grip before he passes out. Here. He bent down and Ooh, good God. He forced Leet's hand to one side, moving the baton so it was pressed against the side of Leet's neck. Now you're pulling against the artery, obstructing the blood flow to his brain, twice as fast. You pull pressure on both arteries, he'll be out in 30 seconds. Thanks, I huffed, for the lesson. Good girl. Uber's down for the count, but I'm gonna go help the others to make sure he's not gonna... Oh, God. Everything's going wrong at once. To give us any trouble. Only steps away, so shout if you need a hand. It wasn't fast, even when the technique Gru had instructed. It wasn't pretty, either. Leet made lots of ugly little sounds, fumbling awkwardly for his backpack. I pressed my body against it, though, and he gave up. Instead, he tried pressing against the bar to alleviate the pressure. When that didn't work, he started scratching uselessly at my mask. I released him when he finally stumped over. Extricating myself from underneath him, I adjusted my mask and threw my knife and cut the high-tech backpack off of him. When I'd done that, I searched him. If we were going to interrogate him, it wouldn't do to have him digging out some little trinket to free himself or incapacitate us? Oh my God! His costume was skin tight, so it was very easy to verify there weren't any hidden pockets or devices on it. Just to be safe, I cut the antenna off his head and removed his belt. The other returned with a battered and unconscious Uber in their arms, his arms bound behind him with plastic wrist ties. They dumped him beside Leet. Now to find out where they stashed Bitch and the cash, Tattletale said. She looked at me. Got any smelling salts? I shook my head. No, these guys have henchmen, don't they? They've probably got them watching over the money. We likely find Bitch in the same place. Close, but no cigar. A mechanical hiss answered me. We wheeled around to see a woman in the same outfit Uber and Leet were wearing. The difference was she wore a gas mask-style fixture over her face, and the lenses of her goggles were red, not black. The woman's mask seemed to have to take what she said and reply. Good God. The woman's mask seemed to take what she said and replay everything in a robotic monotone hiss. I really hope they would take one or two of you out of the picture, or at least injure someone. How disappointing. They didn't even get around to introducing their guest star for tonight. Bakuda? Tails was the...
I just said Tails. I don't know why I just said Tails. This is the part of the stream where I lose my mind and I forget how to speak.
Tattletale was the first to put a name to the face. Fuck me, the game their costume was from Bomberman? Bakuda stood and bowed in one smooth motion. Regent raised his hands, but she let herself drop to her knees, gripping the roof's edge with one hand to avoid sticking off. Nuh-uh-uh, she wagged one finger at him. I'm smart enough to learn from the mistakes of others. You seriously left the ABB to join Uber and Leet? Regent asked, astounded. Not exactly, she said. She snapped the finger of her hand that wasn't being used to keep hold of the roof. Below her, the door to the storage opened. 3 men in ABB colors stepped out, each holding a weapon, a gun, a baseball bat, and a fire axe. The other doors opened all down the corridor of stage lockers. Storage lockers! 30 or 40 doors, each with at least one person behind them, some with 3 or 4, all men armed. Those two were cheap hires. They just wanted a few $100s, and I had to wear this costume. Guess you get what you pay for. Goes without saying, I'm still with the ABB, Bakuda stated at the obvious to us. In fact, in charge, matter of fact. I think it's fitting that I commemorate my new position by dealing with people that brought down my predecessor, don't you agree? She didn't expect us to answer, nor did she wait for it when. She pointed at us and shouted, Get them! And that is where we're ending off for the night. How long is this interlude? Okay, it's very long. Yeah, it's a long one. Okay, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop there for the night. So to our new friend, our schedule goes as follows. Sunday and Monday, I read Worm. And Tuesdays, I, just to balance out, because Worm is, like, really, really depressing sometimes and really, really sad. I don't want to hit you guys with that 3 days in a row. I read some really terrible story I found online. Whatever shit I can dig up and share with you guys, I'll give. So yeah, if that sounds like if having my voice in the background reading you audiobooks sounds like something you want to do with. Oh, also every stream starts at 8 and usually ends around like 10:30ish. Depending on how into everything you guys are, I might go longer some days, I might go shorter some days, depending on 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the correct time zone. 8 p.m. EST. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for joining tonight, guys. Thanks for the new follow. I only use PS. Well, that's on you. That's the inferior time zone. Yeah, thanks for joining tonight, guys. If you want, you can catch up with Worm. I'm gonna be uploading part 3, and I'm probably gonna be uploading this one tomorrow as well to the channel Grunge Show VODs. I'll put that and a link to my Twitter in my Twitch description, so you guys can follow and get updates on the shit. But yeah, have a good night, everyone. I'll see you all back here 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
tomorrow. A VOD is just a video. It's a video of a stream. It's just, yeah, it's a video. Because the stream, it gets recorded in like a video format. And so I don't know why. I don't know what VOD actually stands for, which is really funny because I'm a streamer. Video on demand. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense now. But yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thank you all for joining. Have a safe night, everyone. Have a good night. See y'all back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.